This is the story of Gabriel Lee, who one day finds himself compelled to review the game The Stanley Parable. He has no idea why he must do this. The Stanley Parable is a game about a man named Stanley who suddenly finds that his coworkers have disappeared and his life is now narrated by a British voice actor. It's a super short game, or it's an infinitely long game. It never actually ends. Every time you complete a playthrough, the game just starts again and you have to actually go through the menu to exit the game, otherwise you'll play indefinitely and you'll continue to experience just how surreal this game is. And that really is one of the main draws about it, is the surrealness of the environments. It's like an MC Escher designed office. There's weird turns, rooms that appear to go on infinitely, rooms that change and when you revisit them, and all kinds of just weird unsettlingness. And the graphics are serviceable, and they really impart that feel just in how unnatural they look, I guess, is what I would have to say. And then the next really strong part is the story, and the narrator is constantly narrating what and responding to what Stanley is doing in a really humorous, sometimes dark way, and it keeps you entertained, it keeps you interested, and it makes you wonder really what's going on, and it makes you wonder about what a video game actually is, what choices both in a video game setting and in real life really amount to, and what they actually mean. So it is really appealing in that sense. But I would have to say that the fact that the narrator sometimes doesn't keep up with what Stanley's doing and misses bits of narration, or doesn't react to everything that Stanley does when there's key parts occurring within the game, or doesn't prod you along a little bit more, just because if you play the game, you're going to understand that this narrator is someone that wants you to do things and wants you to make the choices that he wants you to make. So the fact that he can just sit quietly by while Stanley does nothing, or just fools around, sometimes is a little disappointing. It kind of takes you out. You kind of wonder why there isn't the narrator, why he isn't responding to this, and it's a little disappointing there. But overall, just the amount of content that is narrated and the amount of dynamicism, I shouldn't use words I don't know, the dynamics just of what the narrator is saying and how he reacts, it is pretty good. It's pretty amazing that an indie game that was originally a mod just is that well narrated and voice acted. The next thing that I really have to point out is that it's not a game that's heavy on gameplay. You mostly just walk around and click on things, and that's another problem, is that it doesn't really indicate to you what you can actually interact with, and that kind of makes it seem like a click fest at times. If you're trying to figure out new ways to change the story and interact with the narrator, you'll just be clicking on everything hoping something sticks. And if the smart toggle appeared in incidences that aren't directly story related, it would be less of a pixel hunt hassle, which isn't really fun. I think having a more reactive cursor, just because your interactions are kind of limited within this game, would be helpful and would make the experience a lot more enjoyable. But because for the most part the gameplay is just the basic corridor crawl or whatever, it does it well. It doesn't really glitch out ever, and doesn't make weird stuff happen. Everything works pretty much every time, and the game doesn't forget what run through you're on or whatever, because that matters within the game too, is how many times you've actually played through the Stanley Parable. But overall, it is a good just brain bender. It just twists your perception of things going on. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable. You'll have at least a few laughs. If you keep playing it and see some of the endings that are out there, you'll probably really find it funny. It is a really funny, enjoyable piece of art, because it kind of more is an art statement, art piece, than it is a game, just in my opinion. But it definitely plays like a game. It does feel like you are a player trying to experiment in this game world with the rules that are presented to you and trying to figure them out, learn them, so that you can come to a conclusion that you enjoy. So I'm going to have to give the Stanley Parable a 7 out of 10, mostly because there are, to my knowledge, aren't as many endings as I feel like there could be. I may have missed out on some, and that is unfortunate, but I feel like because it doesn't make it clear with either the narrator or your ability to interact in the game, that sort of holds it back and holds you back from really exploring the possibilities out there. And I know that the console command is supposed to play a part within some of the endings, and for some people the console command just doesn't work, so you won't ever be able to see the console command related endings. And that is probably the main bug with Stanley Parable that I've noticed. If there's more bugs out there, then comment below, because it would be interesting to know. Maybe those could lead to new endings. Who knows? Anything goes with the Stanley Parable. Definitely recommend playing it. 7 out of 10. What should I review next? See y'all, fam. And Stanley Parable. What the fuck?